Hey, Shalom, Akim Shalom. First and foremost, as always, I would like to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rachakudash. I would like to give double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders of Great Millstone that taught us his truth and also teaching his truth, and much peace, love, and salutation to the elect, beginning with the 144,000, all the way down to the large multitude that believes, and who the Lord will deliver in these last days. To you all I say Shalom. I'm the brother Tazamar for the Great Millstone Dallas Camp, coming back today with another quick lesson. And I pray this lesson will be edifying to the elect. And I want to do a quick video on this this clip from X of Stephen Miller. All right, pretty much saying that DJ Trump, Nero 47, could use plenary action, and we'll get the definition here in a moment. But that Nero Trump could use plenary action in Chicago, and then CNN pretty much strips the word. They redo it to whereas he doesn't say plenary action. All right, because you know what we see Nero 47 doing here now is waging war specifically on the tribes, on you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. All right, and we've been warning, beginning with the apostles on down, all right, that Jacob's trouble, all right, is going to be on this side. And despite what Bishop Nathaniel says and how there's not going to be no Jacob's trouble and things of that nature, how Israel, all right, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, we're not going to go through, a time of persecution that the world has never seen. Like it says in Daniel, the 12th chapter is completely outrageous, and it's a lie. Okay, those are false prophets that prophesy, and they prophesy deceits. They don't even come in the name of Yahweh Shema Shai, first and foremost, but secondly, they prophesy lies and deceits. And they're going to have a lot of blood on their hands, man. Okay? But this is also, too, how the scripture says their tongues in the last days, that their tongues shall fall upon themselves in the last days. Let's get that real quick, and then we'll play the clip. All right? This is Psalm 64. All right? Or is it Psalm 62? No, Psalm 64. This is Psalm 64, verse 8. It says, "So they shall make their own tongue to fall upon themselves." And to make their tongue fall upon themselves is pretty much, you have Edomites saying particular things, either A, exposing other Edomites, or B, Yahweh Basham Shai may have them say something and it'll put them in a blunder. So whereas they can't pretty much retract the things that they say. All right. When you get that word fall, it's like I keep, clearing my throat, man. I took some oil of oregano, man. That's some strong stuff right there, man. I definitely recommend, Akim, what I'm saying, oil of oregano, especially in times of the seasons changing, the so-called flu season coming around. It builds your immune system up. What I'm saying? It keeps your immune system on point. It helps rejuvenate your white blood cells, to fight off infections and things of that nature. But anyways, Salakia for going off on the tangent. But that word "fall upon" is kashal. All right, and it says here, Psalm 64, verse 9. It says, let me go up a little bit. It says stumble, stagger, totter. So they're stumbling, on saying particular things when they're pretty much trying to hide it. But the Lord has it to whereas particular things are being said and particular truths are coming out to whereas Esau, he can't hide himself no more. All right, it says cause to stumble, figurative, bring injury or ruin to. You see, it's bringing injury and ruin to Esau's reputation. All right. Shameful spewing is now being put upon his shameful spewing shall be put upon his glory, as it says in Habakkuk. All his atrocities and things of that nature, which we already know that Esau was doing, but now, more and more it's being brought to the forefront. The whole issue going on with the small hats out there in Israel. Their whole plan on the Greater Israel Project. And them trying to establish a foothold of trying to pretty much establish a pseudo blessing on their side. All right, you have particular truthers that are coming out exposing Esau's deeds. That's why they want to take control of these social media platforms like what's it called, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. All right, they want to take control of these particular social media platforms because they're being exposed, and that's their tongue falling upon themselves. So as it says back at the scripture, verse 8, so they shall make their own tongue to fall upon themselves. All that see them shall flee away. Let's read it in the NLT. It says their own tongues will ruin them, and all who see them will shake their heads in scorn. And that's why you see people looking at the mainstream media. First and foremost, the mainstream media, CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, ABC, all these mainstream media outlets are all, it's all controlled by controlled opposition. They got a script being told what to say, but really nobody's watching the mainstream media. You got older people that watch the mainstream mainstream news like CNN and things of that nature, but everybody is turning to the alternative news. You see, but this is how Esau can manipulate. All right, the media. And media really goes back to a medium. Pretty much it's witchcraft. All right. Now, let's do this. I'm gonna play this part here and check it out. This is from CNN. It says, we knew CNN was bought and paid for. It says now they're brazenly editing interviews, like stripping out the word plenary, said by little Stephen Miller. And this dude Stephen Miller is a so-called white Christian nationalist. In his speech, Elder Yashawamba did a lesson on it. Going in on this Edomite chick that pretty much dissected his speech at Captain Kirk's memorial, and he was pretty much giving off so-called neo-Nazi rhetoric. You see, and Esau sharpening his sword, man. And this is the same dude. Okay, so now let's take a listen to this. All right, Lord willing, y'all can hear it, and I pray to Yahweh B'Shem Al Shaddai, ain't no echo. All right, so hold on one second. Let me make sure the volume's right. Let's take a listen.
Legal insurrection. Does the administration still plan to abide by that ruling?
Well, the administration filed an appeal this morning with the Ninth Circuit. I would note the administration won an identical case in the Ninth Circuit just a few months ago with respect to the federalizing of the California National Guard. Under Title 10.
Oh yeah, by the way, this is fair use. All right, this is fair use that I'm using this. I'm not using this for any kind of monetary gain or anything of that nature. This is all free news that's freely given that we just reporting on. So this is fair use.
Under the U.S. Code, the president has plenary authority.
Stephen?
You see that?
Stephen?
You see that?
Hey, Stephen, can you hear me?
He said the president has plenary authority, and then he just paused. So he knew he wasn't supposed to say that. But the scripture says, matter of fact, let's get this. See, the Lord had him say that for a reason. It says he said the president has plenary authority. This is Proverbs 16:1. It says the preparations of the heart in man and the answer of the tongue is from Yahweh. You see? So Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai made him say that for a reason. And he knew when he said that he wasn't supposed to say that. That's why he paused and he didn't say anything. And you see the host, he keeps saying, Stephen, he ain't responding back. Let's listen.
White House Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy, Stephen Miller. My question was whether the administration...
Now, what we're hearing now is the edited version.
Still plans to abide by that judge's order restricting any National Guard troops from being sent to Oregon.
Well, the administration will abide by the ruling insofar as it affects the covered parties. But there are also many other options the president has to deploy federal resources and assets out of the U.S. military to Portland. But I was making the point that under federal law, Section Title 10 of the U.S. Code, the president has the authority anytime he believes federal resources are insufficient to federalize the National Guard to carry out a mission necessary for public safety. So it's important to understand that in Portland, ICE officers have been subjected to over 100 nights of terrorist assault doxing, murder threats, violent attack, and every other means imaginable to try to overturn the results of the last election through violence. The most important point I want to make today is that the number 1 and 2 items in the GOP platform in 2020.
And that's the main point. But the key is that he just said authority here. You see, the first time, because I seen this before a couple days ago, the first time he said plenary authority, and then the second time when they aired it, it said he just said authority. You see, now somebody may ask, well, what is plenary authority? So let's ask, what is plenary authority? Authority, right? Respect my authority, right? What is plenary authority? All right. It says plenary authority or plenary power is a legal term for power that is broad, wide-ranging, and often considered without practical limits in a specific area. So pretty much now we about to really see the no-limit soldiers. There ain't gonna be no limits. This is pretty much a fancy way of saying martial law. This is a fancy way of saying, damn, Apostle Gabar, he would say it. It's a slogan for the New World Order. Pretty much, no mercy, expect no mercy, And this is really, the anger of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. And you see all these, you see, the insurrection, Donald Trump's talking about invoking the Insurrection Act in Chicago. He has the National Guard out there in Chicago. He has a National Guard in Memphis. He has a National Guard in DC. Pretty much the military. You got the military in Portland, where they're talking about plenary authority, right? It says the word plenary comes from the Latin word plenus, meaning full or complete. While it refers to absolute power within a particular legal area, it does not mean unlimited power in every situation. In the U.S. system, these powers are limited by the Constitution and system of checks and balances. But the thing is that now the Constitution and checks and balances, so-called, is nothing more than just a piece of paper. You see, I want to say one of the George W. Bush, I think, said it. It was either George W. Bush or his father, but he said that the Constitution is nothing more than a goddamn piece of paper, and that's exactly what it is. Because even with the Constitution, that there's slowly stripping away your so-called rights that you have, your rights of free speech, your rights of bearing arms and things of that nature. That goes to show you that the Constitution is nothing more than just a bunch of bullshit. It says examples in the U.S. government. It says immigration, right? Immigration. Keep this in mind. The U.S. Supreme Court has repeatedly affirmed Congress's plenary power over immigration and neutralization. It says this means Congress has near complete authority to determine who may enter or remain in the U.S. And that's why you have, ICE pretty much rolling up on the northern and the southern kingdom, by the way. Okay, it just ain't the so-called Latinos. You got so-called Negroes and Latinos getting rounded up. You seen that whole issue that happened in a housing unit in Chicago last week, where they pretty much it was like they was looking for goddamn Osama bin Laden, man. Had Black Hawk helicopters. You had the military going in through the windows, flashbanging houses and smoke grenading houses. You see, because like we've been saying through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, we have been warning, okay, that they're getting ready to wage war on you Jakes, man, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, and they're showing you openly now. Remember, the scripture says this. It says that the devil will come down with great wrath because he knows that he has but a short time. And you got somebody listening, oh my God, they always bring the same scriptures out. Well, we're going to keep bringing the same scriptures out, nigga. How about that? Okay, because the scripture says, at the end it shall speak and not lie. So yeah, we're gonna keep bringing out the same scriptures. We're gonna keep bringing out the same things over and over and over again, because this is the time that we're in. Revelation chapter 12, verse 12, it says, therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. You see that? He knows that he has a short time. So Esau, the devil, all right, is going to implement. He's going to try to implement his in-world O quicker. And it's really the spirit of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai on him to speed up. So ultimately, because whenever he speeds up and he really tries to bring forth the sword, that's when the standard is going to be lifted for the elect. Okay, and that's when Daniel 12:1, as the scripture says, that Michael the great prince shall stand up. All right, Michael the great prince shall stand up, and it's going to be a time of trouble that the world has never seen since there's been a nation, despite what Bishop Nathaniel been saying. Okay, going back to the AI overview, it says commerce. It says under the Commerce Clause, Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution, Congress has plenary power to regulate interstate commerce. It says states cannot pass laws affecting trade between states without Congress's permission. Native American affairs. The federal government also has broad authority over Native American affairs, all right, Israelite affairs, right? A doctrine established through Supreme Court rulings. You see, and this is the affairs of the so-called Latinos and Native Americans. Because these Edomites, man, they know who we are. When I say these Edomites, I ain't talking about these regular Joe Schmo, everyday Edomites. I'm talking about we're talking about the elite. Donald Trump knows who we are. He knows who he's waging war against. He knows exactly who he's waging war against. But these everyday Edomites, they have no clue. These maggers, yeah, we gotta make Chicago great again. We gotta go in there. We gotta send the military in there. But here it is. He getting ready to wage war on your ass too. Presidential pardons. The president's power to grant pardons for federal crimes is considered a plenary power, as neither Congress nor the court can override this decision. Let's take a look at this. How plenary authority works under U.S. law. We'll just read the blue part. It says, according to the Legal Information Institute, Congress, for example, has plenary power over interstate commerce. Okay, we just read that. This clause gives Congress the final say in regulating trade between states. We already read that. It's pretty much the same thing. Let's see. For the president, plenary authority is more limited. The commander-in-chief role gives the president broad power to use the military, but Congress controls funding and can impose limits. And that's why you've been having the Supreme Court pretty much blocking Trump from going into for sending the military into Portland. You see? But he's to the point now where Donald J. Trump is going to do it any damn way, man, because he's that cruel Lord, as it says in Isaiah the 19th chapter. Let's see. Courts have also ruled that the president cannot override constitutional protections even when invoking plenary powers. This is why Miller's remark drew attention. While the president can federalize National Guard troops under Title 10 of the U.S. Code, legal experts note that such action still faces checks through the court and Congress, calling it plenary authority may exaggerate the executive's reach. Because plenary authority, all right, pretty much means, it pretty much means unchecked authority. You see? And that's why when he said that, he paused. You see, he paused. He was like, oh shit, I wasn't supposed to say that. And then they had to redo it. See? So, hey, that's weird. Now it ain't showing up. Here it is. But yeah, I just wanted to do a quick lesson on this. I pray this lesson was edifying to the elect. Call hello, Yahweh, Bashem, Al-Shai, Bashem, Kakadash. Double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders, great millstone that taught us his truth, and that's for teaching his truth, and much peace, love, and salutation to the elect. Until next time, Lord willing, I say shalom.